reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is One.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Janna.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and coming up on the show today, President Donald Trump says that the US may be making progress towards a deal with Iran. And this as he lays out a 15-point plan to end the war. But speaking at the White House, Trump said that the Iranians gave the United States what he called a very significant present. All this while Iran continues to deny having any conversation with the Americans. We're going to get you all the details on the show today. Stay tuned.
Also on World DNA, Tehran has announced that it would allow non-hostile vessels to pass through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz, which is a key artery for global oil supplies. While Iran has informed the IAEA that a projectile hit the premises of Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant. Differing accounts emerge from the US and Iran while the war continues. Let's start with the headlines for now.
We don't need oil, but we did it. It's almost, you could say we did it out of habit.
Reports claim that the US sent Iran 15-point plan to end the war, proposing limits on Iran's nuclear program and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The plan sent via Pakistan includes a month-long ceasefire for talks and lifting of all sanctions.
They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money.
Trump claims he got a present from Iran worth a tremendous amount of money, suggesting that the gift is related to the Strait of Hormuz. Says it meant to him that he is dealing with the right people in the country, in Iran.
Iran says non-hostile vessels can safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz if they comply with security rules and avoid supporting hostile actions. And this is according to a statement which was shared via International Maritime Organization.
Kuwait had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles. They happen to be our planes, but the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots making it?
Trump reveals 3 American fighter jets over Kuwait were shot down by Kuwaiti forces using US-made missiles. Describes the incident as a little mishap.
UN nuclear watchdog says another projectile hits premises of Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant. No damage to the facility or injuries have been reported. Operation remains normal. IAEA urges restraint to prevent nuclear safety risks.
Israel's military says that it is carrying out airstrikes in Tehran, targeting infrastructure linked to Iran's regime, shortly after reporting that Iran has launched a wave of missiles towards Israel.
Lebanese state media reports Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon kill at least 9 people. 4 die in Adlon town, 2 in the strike at an apartment in the refugee camp near Sidon, and 3 more killed in Habush.
Russia fires nearly 1,000 drones at Ukraine, including major daytime assaults that killed 8 people, and strikes UNESCO site in Lviv. Ukrainian President Zelensky calls the offensive Russia's absolute depravity.
Oil prices fall more than 5% as prospects of a ceasefire eases supply disruption concerns. Optimism over US-Iran talks and a proposed plan to end the conflict. It raises hopes of stabilizing global oil flows.
Iran has announced that it will let non-hostile oil vessels go through the crucial Strait of Hormuz.
Right, and this comes as President Trump says that US is in negotiations with Iran right now. It's a claim that Tehran continues to deny. US has reportedly sent a 15-point peace plan to Tehran. President Trump says he remains optimistic for a deal, even claiming that the US has achieved regime change in Iran. Listen to this.
I hate to say it, but we killed all their leadership, and then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that, but let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems. So this was, I think we can say, Jason, this is regime change, right?
He also claimed that US has received a significant present from the new leadership in Iran. Trump said that the gift is related to oil and gas, and it is worth a lot of money.
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Well, he did not explain further, but suggested that it was related to the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has largely blockaded in retaliation for US and Israeli strikes, sending global energy prices soaring.
Iran shortly afterwards assured safe passage to non-hostile vessels through the strait. In a message circulated by the International Maritime Organization, Iran made it clear that vessels linked to the US or linked to Israel or their allies will be blockaded. Rest can pass. Iran had already in recent days said that it was not targeting friendly nations.
Now, the New York Times, quoting unnamed officials, said that US has sent a 15-point plan to Iran through mediators, including Pakistan, and Israel's Channel 12 reported that Trump is proposing a 1-month ceasefire to discuss a proposal that would include handing over Iran's enriched uranium and banning further enrichment. Iran would also ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz.
The Israeli report said that Iran, in turn, would see an end to all sanctions. It will also receive assistance in developing civil nuclear energy at Bushehr. The reported new proposal would keep in place the Islamic Republic despite earlier vows to change the regime. And this was, of course, a vow made by Trump and especially the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Now, despite Trump's stated hopes for diplomacy, the United States is reportedly planning to send 3,000 soldiers. This is from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the region. However, it is not clear when or where they would be deployed.
All right, for more on this, we're now being joined live by Giorgio Cafiro. He's a professor at the Georgetown University and CEO Gulf State Analytics. Professor Cafiro, pleasure to speak with you, and thank you so much for making time for us. Starting with the 15-point plan, let's start there. Now, this is the new plan, the 15-point plan to end the war with Iran. Going over the terms of all that is listed in those 15 points, could any of this or all of this have been achieved before the 28th of February? Was a war required to eventually reach these points?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on your program. You know, Trump is talking about how he has this vision for a future in which Iran does not pursue or certainly ever possess nuclear weapons, we need to be clear that Iran has been committed to a future of no nuclear weapons. It's a signatory of the NPT, and also having signed the JCPOA and having made very clear its willingness to sign a new nuclear agreement that would limit its nuclear activities to the point where it would be very far from being in a position to have nuclear weapons. So if Trump's ambition has been and truly is limited on the nuclear file to preventing weaponization of the nuclear program, certainly no need to fight this war. I would say, if anything, as a consequence of this war, the leadership in Iran is of the view that it needs a nuclear weapon to achieve long-term deterrence. Now, when Trump is talking about completely ending the nuclear program altogether, in the sense that he would require some new agreement would require Iran to be at zero enrichment, I still think that just as the Iranians were unwilling to agree to such terms prior to this war, moving forward, they're definitely not going to make a concession like that, which from the Iranian perspective would amount to relinquishing their sovereignty. I think on that point, Iran is not going to budge. And I don't imagine Iran agreeing to zero enrichment, just as I was never imagining Iran being willing to make such a concession even before the war.
Of course, Professor Figueroa, and that, of course, remains a major point of contention. But we also understand that Iran says once bitten, twice shy. And in this particular case, twice bitten, thrice shy, perhaps. But, having said that, and how the earlier talks led to the strikes, and now in the aftermath of the US and Israeli strikes, and with the system in Iran, which is based on deep mistrust for Americans, how do you think they're going to recalibrate or perhaps calibrate this proposal? Because we also understand that, there's no reason for Iran to believe that either Trump or Israel is going to honor the prospective agreement here.
Yeah, well, to your point, this is really one of the main reasons why I'm so pessimistic about some sort of a new agreement. This is why I do not see this supposed diplomatic engagement via Pakistan really going anywhere. The Iranian perspective is that there is no reason to think that anything good for Tehran comes out of talks with the United States. As a consequence of Trump tearing up the JCPOA, basically, back in May 2018, despite Iran's compliance, then the fact that the United States greenlit the Israeli strikes on Iran in June 2025, when the talks were going on in Muscat and Rome, and then given everything that happened at the end of last month, the Iranian view is when we talk to the Americans, we get bombed. And therefore, I think the United States, especially with Trump in the Oval Office, is seen as a bad faith actor and a country that can't be trusted. And I just fail to understand what Iran could think that there is to gain long term from diplomatic engagement with the Trump administration.
Professor, when you talk about the objectives of the war, that's been a question since the beginning of the war. But at this point, the regime in Iran, Supreme Leader was assassinated in the first day of the war. Soon after, his son takes over. We've not seen him in public, but they have a face to put and a name as their new leader. Tulsi Gabbard in the Senate hearing mentioned it herself that Iran and the Iranian regime, it's very much intact, though diminished, but intact. Trump now claims that we've changed the regime. He said we can call it a regime change. Do you see this as an attempt at some kind of face saving that, okay, we got it done, whichever way he sees it, but we got it done, and yes, it's a headline that he's trying to give, perhaps. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely. That's a good question, and the answer is definitely yes, I do see it that way. I think Trump realizes now that he really got in over his head when it came to this war with Iran, totally miscalculated the situation, went in very naively, went in while super unprepared, had no plan B. And right now, I think he realizes that Iran is really in control of the escalation ladder. When you're talking about the Strait of Hormuz or other issues, we can point to Iran actually having gained leverage internationally because of this war. I think that Trump is now trying to de-escalate. He has seen the extent to which this conflict has severely disrupted the global economy, which will have a huge impact on the American economy, especially during a year in which we have midterm elections. And so Trump is doing something that Trump has done repeatedly in the Oval Office. That is, he tries to spin things to make it seem like his administration achieved a huge victory. And I think that's what he's trying to do. If he wants to wind down this conflict quickly and sell it to the American people as a win, he's going to have a strategic narrative about how the U.S. came out on top. To admit that this has been a disaster would be very costly for him politically. He is very much a president who focuses on the optics, focuses on the headlines and the narratives. So again, to answer your question, I think you're absolutely right that this is really about spinning it to make it seem like regime change was achieved, when obviously we know that, while figureheads at the top have been assassinated, including the previous supreme leader, and new figures have been put in their place, the Islamic Republic as a regime is still in power. So what Trump is saying is absurd. But again, it's about having a face-saving tactic, as you put it so well.
No, and let me just add to that, Professor. The new leader who's now come, he calls himself the leader of the revolution. Rehbar Inqilab, that's the name he's given to himself. And he's the son of the leader who, his father was killed, his mother was killed, his other members of his family were killed, sister was killed, grandkids of the supreme leader were killed. So there is going to be a sense of vengeance that one presumes. How it comes out from whatever we've read from him, they seem very clear that they are very much speaking the same language. I'm talking about Mujtaba Khamenei speaking the same language as we're hearing from the other Iranian leaders who are more in the public eye at this point. So they seem very much intact, they seem very much cohesive in terms of what they want to do, and they all stand united at this point saying that we are having no talks with the US and we want them out at this point. So there are differing accounts. As of now, stay with us, Professor. We're slipping into a very short break. Won't take long. We'll continue the conversation with you. This is World DNA. Stay with us, viewers.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA, and we have with us Professor Giorgio Kefiro. He's a professor at the Georgetown University and CEO, Gulf State Analytics. Now, Professor, as you were just discussing that US is hinting at this de-escalatory rhetoric which it is now adopted, but we also understand that simultaneously Israel is not Israel is continuing with its operations in Iran with little perceived restraint. Now, how do you assess this structural contradiction playing out from where we stand at this moment?
Yeah, I think this speaks to an important dynamic in this war, which is that the U.S. and Israel are not exactly on the same page. While both Washington and Tel Aviv would like to see Iran cease to be a country that resists American and Israeli hegemony in the region, and cease to be a country that sponsors resistance organizations in the Middle East, the goals do seem to be different, or at least the strategies and priorities certainly seem to diverge. I think Israel is very much focused on toppling the Islamic Republic, and if short of that, at least pushing for civil war and chaos inside Iran with the hope that the nation state will fragment along ethnic lines. The United States is more vulnerable to disruptions to the stock market and global energy markets. And the U.S. is obviously concerned about rising oil prices. And therefore, the U.S., unlike Israel, is sort of balancing its interests in intensifying the pressure on Iran on one side with trying to achieve more stability in terms of the global economy, protecting the global economy from all the shocks and the disruptions that this conflict has caused. Now, what this means going forward is that the Trump administration will have to make some decisions about the extent to which it wants to rein in Israel. Given all the leverage that Washington has over Israel, Trump could basically, in other words, tell Netanyahu that Israel needs to stop doing certain things, needs to show some restraint. That is something that Trump could do in one phone call. The question as to whether or not he would do that comes down to politics, and it remains to be seen the extent to which Trump chooses to use America's leverage to rein in Israel. But I have to assume that if we get to a point where the Trump administration is very serious about de-escalation, we will see the White House use its leverage in this capacity.
Professor, you spoke about de-escalation, and if the Trump camp is looking at that at this point, but then let's just go over what has just happened. The strike on a nuclear power plant that has been reported to the IAEA by Iran, and this is seeming like another escalation. It's in Bushehr. And if I were to just go over what happened a few days ago, there was a strike on the Natanz nuclear installation by the US and Israel. And within a day or number of hours, Iran carried out strikes on Dimona and Arad. Now, after what has just happened in Bushehr, do you anticipate a similar reaction coming in from Iran, which completely throws the de-escalation conversation out of the window?
Well, yeah, these incidents are disturbing, and the international community is rightfully worried, justifiably worried about what all of this means. There is an interest that all countries in the world have in seeing to it that attacks of this sort are off limits. Concerns about the radiological effects are very real, and these risks are taken seriously by the international community. We definitely saw a couple of days ago with Iran's attacks on Dimona that Tehran is willing to play tit for tat when it comes to these attacks on nuclear facilities. And this is one of the reasons why de-escalation is very important right now. I certainly hope that people around Trump are talking to him about these very serious risks to human and environmental security in the Gulf and in the Middle East at large. These risks are definitely ones that should make everyone involved in this conflict very determined to achieve some sort of a de-escalation as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And Professor Kafiro, we also understand that now US has made this claim that it has received a significant present from the new leadership of Iran. And Trump said that the gift is related to oil and gas, and it's worth a lot of money. Now we're getting a lot of claims and counterclaims come in. And there's a lot of foreground diplomacy as well. How do you read this in context to what we just discussed? There were strikes which were reported, and this is happening again in the 5 days which were kept aside for when, of course, a temporary ceasefire of sorts. How do you see this panning out from your end? What is the veracity of these claims that are coming in from the White House?
I definitely want to look at concrete facts before coming to any sort of a conclusion. I'm not really sure what Trump is actually talking about here. As we were mentioning a few moments ago, he's very big on creating headlines, creating certain optics, making it seem as though the Iranians are very interested in talking to the United States, making it seem as though Tehran is on the verge of making huge concessions to Washington in the interest of winding down this conflict. On Iran's side, there is a total denial that any of this is taking place. I don't actually know what's going on, but I think that sometimes when we hear these kinds of bold assertions from Donald Trump, until we have some real concrete facts to look at, we need to take much of what he says with a grain of salt.
Professor Kafiro, thanks so much for making time for us. There will be more to discuss. I look forward to speaking with you again.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you both.
And we'll quickly slip into a short break. This is World DNA. More coming up on the other side. Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Tariq Rahman, extended his condolences on Genocide Day, observed on the 25th of March since 1971. Detailed report coming up on that and more lined up for you right here on World DNA. Stay with us.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness. Five states, one powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. From Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with Deeksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Senior Iran military official Ali Akbar Ahmadiyya wants US forces to come closer after reports that US will deploy 3,000 troops to the region. Says Iran is prepared for a potential ground conflict after years of planning.
US Central Command releases video showing strikes on military targets deep inside Iran. Says US forces have destroyed more than 9,000 Iranian military targets, significantly degrading Iran's combat capability.
Reports claim US sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war, proposing limits on Iran's nuclear program and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The plan was sent via Pakistan, which includes a month-long ceasefire for talks and lifting of all sanctions.
They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. It was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money.
Trump claims he got a present from Iran worth a tremendous amount of money, suggesting that the gift is related to the Strait of Hormuz. Says it meant to him that he is dealing with the right people in Iran.
Iran says non-hostile vessels can safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz if they comply with security rules and avoid supporting hostile actions. And this is according to statements shared via International Maritime Organization.
Kuwait, they had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles. They happened to be our planes, but the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots making it?
Donald Trump reveals 3 American fighter jets over Kuwait were shot down by Kuwaiti forces using US-made missiles. Describes the incident as a little mishap.
Lebanese state media reports Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon kill at least 9 people. 4 die in Arlun town, 2 in a strike on an apartment in the refugee camp near Sinor, and 3 more killed in Hapush.
Russia fires nearly 1,000 drones at Ukraine, including major daytime assault that killed 8 people and strikes UNESCO site in Lviv. Ukrainian president calls the offensive Russia's absolute depravity.
Asian markets rise on Wednesday, led by South Korea's Kospi jumping more than 3%. This is after Donald Trump signaled possible US-Iran talks. Japan, Australia, Hong Kong and China also gained, while oil prices dropped sharply, boosting investor sentiment. US President Donald Trump has admitted that 3 American fighter jets were shot down over Kuwait and they were hit by a friendly fire.
Well, Trump downplayed the March 2nd incident. This is within days of the war, of starting of the war, as a little mishap. According to the president, Kuwaiti forces using US-made Patriot air defense systems mistakenly identified the aircraft as a hostile target and fired on all three of them.
Kuwait, they had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles. They happened to be our planes. But the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots making it? The pilots saw what was coming.
Now, the information is not new, but as Commander-in-Chief, Trump's open admission is still surprising. The incident took place on March 2nd during ongoing military operations linked to the Iran conflict.
The aircraft involved were F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets, among the most advanced in the US arsenal. All 3 jets were brought down, but 6 crew members on board managed to eject safely, and they were later recovered.
The US Central Command has described the incident as apparent friendly fire during active combat operations. Kuwait says it has taken technical measures in coordination with US forces. Now, the Patriot missile system, which is designed to intercept incoming threat, relies heavily on identification systems to distinguish friend from foe.
The 3 Strike Eagles are part of nearly 24 American aircraft lost or damaged during the war. US military has also admitted a F-35 jet was damaged during a mission, while a KC-135 Strato tanker crashed in Iraq, killing 6 crew members. A Bloomberg report also suggests that Iran and its allies have shot down multiple drones, including MQ-9 Reapers, high-value systems, including critical radar networks and air defense infrastructure of the US. They have also been targeted, affecting battlefield awareness and response capability. US President Donald Trump spoke to Prime Minister Modi on the phone.
Well, this is the first phone call between the leaders since the US-Israel war on Iran began. And US envoy to India, Sergio Gore, said that their conversation focused on the ongoing conflict in West Asia, including the importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. Prime Minister Modi hailed talks with the US president. In a post on X, he said, and I'm quoting him here, received a call from President Trump and had a useful exchange of views on the situation in West Asia.
The Prime Minister asserted that India supports de-escalation and the restoration of peace at the earliest. He said that ensuring that the Strait of Hormuz remains open, secure and accessible is essential for the whole world. PM Modi and President Trump agreed to stay in touch regarding efforts towards peace and stability.
Well, earlier, Prime Minister Modi, addressing the Rajya Sabha, assured that the country holds enough oil and natural gas reserves to mitigate the crisis. Listen to this.
सदन को और देश को ये आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि भारत के पास क्रूड ऑयल के पर्याप्त स्टोरेज के और निरंतर सप्लाई की व्यवस्थाएं हैं.
The talks come at a time when Donald Trump has raised hopes that the US-Israel war on Iran could be winding down. Trump on Monday said that his government was already holding productive talks with Tehran. He has extended his deadline on striking power plants in Iran by 5 days over Iran's chokehold on the key oil shipping route, Strait of Hormuz.
The US and Israel's war on Iran has reached its 4th week, and the impact of the conflict is not just limited to these 3 countries, but is being felt across the Gulf region.
Qatar, one of the key players in the region, has said that the war has stretched the Gulf states' security systems to a breaking point. Listen to this.
The most important outcome of this war is the breakdown of the regional security system in the Gulf region. The regional security system in the Gulf was based on certain premises, many of which have been overturned in the current war. The Gulf states, which have been working closely and in parallel to ensure their security, are in need of a post-war re-evaluation of what a shared regional security framework truly entails.
Now, since the start of the conflict on February 28th, Iran has repeatedly claimed that it is not targeting neighboring Gulf nations, but is defending its sovereignty by striking US bases in those countries.
The United Arab Emirates says that its air defense systems intercepted 17 drones and 5 ballistic missiles on Tuesday. The UAE Ministry of Defense also released cumulative data saying that since what it calls the onset of Iranian aggression, its defenses have dealt with over 1,800 drones, 15 cruise missiles, 357 ballistic missiles.
And this comes despite US President Donald Trump claiming that a deal with Iran to end the war is possible. He also claimed that the United States is in talks with a top Iranian official, although Tehran has denied any such discussions.
The frequency of Iranian strikes on Gulf nations has declined compared to the first week of this war. Saudi Arabia reported intercepting multiple drones on its eastern region on Tuesday. And meanwhile, Bahrain said that its civil defense teams extinguished a fire at a company facility following what it described as Iranian aggression on Tuesday. Since February 28th, Qatar has been targeted by 256 missiles and drones. What began as a modest initiative by members of the Shia community in the Kashmir Valley to raise funds for war-affected people in Iran has rapidly transformed into one of the region's largest humanitarian efforts in recent memory.
Now, the donation drive has grown into a valley-wide movement, drawing participation from all communities and transcending religious and social boundaries. Our special correspondent, Idris Sloan, gets you with this report. Take a look.
It's a people-to-people connection beyond borders, a fundamental spirit of compassion that has brought thousands across Jammu and Kashmir together in a heartening display of unity. Sunni Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs across the valley have joined the humanitarian campaign. Adding momentum to the drive, the Grand Mufti of the Kashmir Valley publicly urged members of the Sunni community to actively participate. He emphasized that the cause rises above sectarian and religious divisions, calling on every section of society to contribute.
This campaign was initiated by the Shia community, but the Sunni community with men, women and children has also participated in large numbers, contributing jewelry, cash and whatever they could. We have also seen participation from Hindus and Sikhs. The brutality of American and Israeli forces, particularly in the killing of Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has united people from all communities. Hindus, Sikhs and others are now standing together against this oppression by Israel.
Over the past week, donation camps have been set up across every district in the valley. Witnessing massive public turnout, women have been seen donating personal jewelry, while others have brought copper utensils as offerings. In rural areas, some individuals have donated livestock, including cattle, while many others have contributed cash and checks. Particularly moving scenes have emerged from the donation centers, where hundreds of children arrived carrying their piggy banks, willingly parting with their savings to support the people of Iran.
I've been here for quite some time, observing the people who have come to donate. Just a while ago, 4 to 5 women from the Sunni community donated their jewelry and cash. We stand in solidarity with the people of Iran. While none of the neighboring countries are stepping forward to help, we want to show the world that we support the people as they resist this oppression.
Organizers estimate that nearly 500 crore Indian rupees have already been collected across the Kashmir Valley, with expectations that the figure will rise further in the coming days as the campaign continues to gather momentum. The initiative stands a powerful testament to Kashmir's enduring spirit of unity and generosity.
Not only Shia community but Sunnis have also come out in huge numbers to participate and donate for the drive. This is not only specific to one religion anymore, but Sikhs as well as Hindus have come together in the Kashmir Valley and are donating in huge numbers as well. This has definitely united the people of Kashmir and showing solidarity with the people of Iran. With video journalist Feroz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
And Bangladesh Prime Minister Tariq Rahman extends his condolences on Genocide Day, which is observed on March 25th since 1971.
This was in a social media post. Rahman recounted how Pakistan killed Bangladeshis in the name of Operation Searchlight. Rahman also called for people to honor the sacrifices made by those who died on that fateful night, calling on them to build a just, developed, prosperous, self-reliant and democratic Bangladesh.
Meanwhile, Bangladesh Hindu-Buddhist Christian Unity Council, which is a human rights organization working against religious discrimination, has warmly welcomed the resolution which was introduced on March 20th. In the second session of the 119th Congress of the U.S. House of Representatives by Congressman Greg Landsman, calling for the recognition of the Genocide Committee in Bangladesh during the 1971 war.
On the 26th of March 1971, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had declared the independence of Bangladesh from Pakistan, leading to the war that had given birth to the new nation. India too played a role by sending the army that helped the liberation warriors of East Pakistan, known back then, also known as Mukti Yodhas, to defeat the Pakistani army and carve out an independent Bangladesh. A humpback whale that is stuck on a sandbar in the Baltic Sea is fighting for its survival.
Despite rescue efforts, the giant whale has not been able to find its way to deep waters. Sailing through the shallow Baltic waters, the whale's life hangs in balance. Take a look at this next report for more details. The global oil shock is now beginning to reshape the future of mobility.
With prices surging nearly 50% this month, the cost of running petrol and diesel vehicles is rising sharply, and that is accelerating a structural shift towards electric vehicles. The trend is also reinforcing China's dominance in the global auto market, even as risks from energy disruptions remain. Take a look at this next report.
While geopolitical tensions in West Asia continue to disrupt global energy markets, a sharp surge in oil prices is now reshaping the future of mobility. Brent crude prices have jumped nearly 50% this month. Analysts say this spike is becoming a tipping point for consumers. Higher fuel costs are making electric vehicles a more attractive and economic alternative to traditional petrol and diesel cars. If the disruption persists, the global shift towards electricity mobility could accelerate significantly. The transition so far has been slow but steady. Electric vehicles now account for more than 10% of total car sales in 39 countries, up sharply from just 4 in 2019. Emerging markets are driving this growth. Affordable electric models, particularly from Chinese manufacturers, are gaining global traction. In markets with access to low-cost EVs, the cost advantage over internal combustion engine vehicles is widening faster. Countries like Brazil are already emerging as key markets for Chinese EV exports. Even consumer interest is reflecting this trend, with online searches for EV models and used electric cars hitting peak levels since the conflict began. This global EV surge is also reinforcing China's dominance in the auto sector. Chinese car makers have overtaken Japan to become the world's largest automobile sellers, with strong export growth and rising EV shipments. Vehicle exports from China rose 30% last year, while EV exports surged 38%. However, risks remain. Electric vehicle manufacturing is energy intensive, and prolonged energy disruptions could raise production costs, especially in import-dependent economies like Thailand. Despite this, the demand for electric vehicles is expected to rise amid global shift away from fossil fuels. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
A healthy diet from a young age is suggested by many, but a healthy diet during your mid-40s is also equally important.
Well, a study shows what you eat in your 40s impacts your memory in your 80s. The study reveals that this particular period, it acts as a critical window when long-term brain health begins to take shape. Researchers find that healthier diets in midlife are associated with better memory and thinking abilities later. A healthy gut microbiome supports brain function and mood, while poor diet raises inflammation and oxidative stress.
According to a study published in JAMA Neurology, those eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains and fish are less likely to report early signs of cognitive decline and even perform better on cognitive tests over time. But diets high in red and processed meat and those linked to inflammation or blood sugar spikes are associated with cognitive decline.
Study reveals that midlife is a critical time for diet change to prevent cognitive decline. Healthy eating supports brain function and reduces future dementia risk. The DASH diet, which is a dietary approach to stop hypertension, it showed that one of the strongest links to reduced cognitive decline, extending its benefits beyond heart health.
The findings underscore the importance of prevention, particularly in countries like India, where dementia cases are expected to rise sharply. Dietary changes in the 40s and 50s are more effective at protecting brain health than waiting until old age. This as many dementia risk factors such as high blood pressure and obesity develop in middle age. Experts say brain aging starts early, making midlife the ideal period to adopt healthy dietary habits in order to build cognitive reserve and reduce future dementia risks.
Well, K-pop supergroup BTS made a powerful comeback on March 21st, pulling in fans from across the world and sparking massive buzz around their return.
For many, this was not just a concert, it was an experience worth traveling for. Analysts say the tour could bring in nearly $5.32 billion, not just from ticket sales, but from everything that fans spend along the way as well. The scale is so big, it is being called BTS-nomics. Experts are already comparing this to Taylor Swift's record-breaking tour, which made over $2 billion in ticket sales alone. But analysts believe BTS could match or perhaps even go beyond that because of their huge global fan base and strong merchandise and streaming demand. About 40,000 fans attended the comeback concert, which was lower than expected, but analysts say the real story is not just about the crowd size, it is the spending power of these fans who continue to drive revenue through travel, shopping and online engagement. Big tours by artists like Taylor Swift and Coldplay have boosted local economies before as well, though economists say the long-term impact is usually limited. BTS tour begins on the 9th of April in Seoul, and they will be traveling across major cities including Las Vegas, London, Paris, Tokyo and Singapore.
Taylor Swift generated about $2.8 billion in ticket revenue from her world tour, which is roughly 2.9 trillion won. So many people expect BTS could generate a similar level of revenue. In fact, since BTS has a much larger customer base that is likely to purchase merchandise and use online streaming services, people in the market are even projecting that they could generate as much as $5.32 billion in revenue.
Now, even before the tour officially begins, South Korea is already seeing the impact. In the week leading up to the concert, BTS merchandise sales ranging from glow sticks to dolls jumped over 400% at major duty-free stores in Seoul. Other department stores also saw strong growth, while tourist numbers and hotel bookings surged in March. One thing is clear, that BTS isn't just a band, it's a global force shaping culture, travel and business all at once. All right, that's all we had for you in this edition of World DNA. But don't go anywhere. More news and updates will follow on the other side. Stay tuned. You're watching WION The World as one.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at wion.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Raised